The deal is this. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Tell you, when I was a kid, I read Dropper Anton Wilson and all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. What? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are going through Grant Morrison's new X-Men run from 2001. We're issue 133. We are between arcs. We just wrapped up Phantom X, Weapon 13. We're about to start into the riot at Xavier's, but before we can do that, Xavier has to do a little globe-trotting, and Wolverine has to go recruit a young female mutant that won't really have anything to do for the rest of this run, if I remember right. She doesn't really do anything until way later.
The idea was, I think, that he had plans for her and then changed his plans. She ends up in other comics. This is a pretty cool character, I think. This issue I like as a filler issue more than the next one, and it's also following up on something like the Xavier stuff is following up on a loose thread. Like they're doing consequence issues, and I think that one, like, not that Landra is more important than Genosha, but just it makes more sense. You know, it's more dramatically sound. Again, you know, pairing the kind of mediocre issue, really cool cover thing. I think the cover of this is very striking.
Oh yeah, this is great. Like just because Dust is the character, is the mutant we're gonna rescue. She wears a hijab, and so like it's just completely black except for a strip for her eyes, and then in the reflection of her pupil, you can see like Wolverine doing his normal like arg kind of pose.
Yeah.
And it's really good. Like it just looks really evocative. I'm sure this like popped on the shelf, right? Like people were like, "What the fuck is that?" Oh,
totally. Yeah, really good. And this issue is drawn by Ethan Van Sciver, noted monster. And Comicsgate fuckwit. And there's no the art is fine. I think we should probably get into it.
Yeah. So we start off in Afghanistan. Logan has killed a bunch of Afghani people. We're going to find out that these are guys selling children, mutant slaves to rich folks. These are slavers. So it's okay that we're killing brown people.
This is the beginning of this, not to be simple, but this is some really good badass Wolverine.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like extremely good Wolverine content. Like this made me also want a Wolverine, like a Grant Morrison Wolverine thing. Like I'm sure he's not that interested in just like doing a badass anti-hero, but he's good at it.
Yeah.
You know,
and
this is really cool.
And it looks cool. Like Wolverine with the pose and with blood coming out of the claws, and like his clothes are in tatters and kind of blowing in the snowy winds behind him. Like it just looks kind of badass.
Yeah, great. And just that, again, opening line, like, what does it take to make you people listen to reason? You know, or this big pile of corpses, like, you know.
And there's one guy left, and Wolverine warns him, like, hey, like, I can't believe, what do I need to do here? Like, you just saw me kill like 20 people, and you're gonna lift a gun? Just drop it, my man. Like, I will cut off your hand if you try to shoot me with this gun. And the guy drops the gun, but then immediately picks it up and tries to shoot him again.
Yep. And Wolverine immediately cuts off his hand. Because again, like badass, you know, good Wolverine, you know, like not fucking around. You know, and he's like, what were you thinking? Do you think that guy doesn't look like a deranged human killing machine? Like, you know, without his hand. And he's like, the guy's freaking out. And he's like, quit while you can still hold hand with your sweetheart, man. Like, you still have a hand. Leave it. You know, which again, I like short-tempered Wolverine.
Yeah. I love this like real tiny shot in the bottom of the severed hand just in the snow, you know, grasping the gun, and it's like kind of fell into the snow a little bit. Like it's just kind of gross and bad and cool looking.
Yeah. Wolverine goes over to the village where, you know, this assault had happened. Heads back, he's sniffing, cuts through the fence, goes into a tent with these rotted humanoid figures, and look who we find here, but Phantom X. And this is the Wolverine and Phantom X first meeting.
Yes.
Scene.
And Phantom X introduces himself and says, like, you probably are smelling Professor X and Jean Grey on me because I just ran into them in France, and says that he's taking this book with all of the names of the richest people on the planet who are buying slaves so that he could auction it off so that they don't get caught. And of course, Wolverine does his like high and mighty, women and kids are treated like furniture and all you can think about is money. And Phantom X is like, yep, 100%. Specifically,
I'm only human after all. Like, I love that. Like, nothing like your X-Men. And then he pulls his, his alpha move here where he's like, I even wonder how much you'd pay to learn about the secrets of the Weapon Plus and your own past, James. Like, I know you got your start with Weapon X, know your real name, and Wolverine can't really handle this. Like, what the, he's kind of freaks out and he goes, oh, Phantom X, you're Weapon 13, X111, the latest super soldier. I know about you. And he's like, you'll be hearing about me a lot more soon.
Yeah. And then says he didn't kill any of these bodies in here, that somehow the girl did, and she stripped all of the flesh from their bones. And before the other armed guards show up, Phantom X disappears. It presumably jumps into Eva and this takes off.
They were going to take off her burqa specifically. That's why she did this.
I cannot imagine what choices were made to lead to having Logan say, "You're Weapon 13, X111, the latest state-of-the-art super soldier." Like, I know what they're doing in an extremely ham-handed. Like, they're just reminding us who Phantom X is, but X111, really? Like, that's fucking crazy.
It's pretty weird. Yeah, it's pretty weird. Some clunky dialogue.
Strange. Yeah.
Phantom X disappears. He's like, hey, they're armed Inquisitive mercenaries heading this way. I'm sure you can talk sense into them. And Wolverine's like, you bet.
Sure. Again, see you later.
I like bad-tempered Wolverine here. So we cut away, presumably, as Wolverine has killed all those people, to Professor Xavier in an airplane that is getting hijacked.
Yeah. And bad luck for these dudes who have picked the airplane that the most famous telepath in the world is riding on, because he just basically tells them to stop and then tells them to go sit down and tells them to deactivate the bomb in his stomach, which Jean Grey has to do because it's in his fucking stomach. So
This is extremely so this came out, the series started in 2001. Mm-hmm. This is pretty far into it. So this is probably 2002, not too long after 9/11. And this terrorist is like, here's your airport security, your x-rays. Like, this is what happened. We still got past this stuff, which is like, in general, I am on the side of 9/11 did a lot of dumb shit to the airport. Like, I don't feel safer now that I have to take off my shoes before I get on a plane because I might get shot in a mall. Like, I don't think that we did a good job with that, but it's real weird to see that sentiment in 2002.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is pretty early on for that. It's not I'm not trying to be like, oh, this is bad taste or woke shame Grant Morrison. I'm just kind of surprised. You don't see a lot of examples of this.
No. Especially in 2002. I think it took the country as a whole a long time. So seeing this in a mainstream Marvel book, right? There were rappers making songs called Makeshift Patriot 2 months after fucking 9/11 and stuff like that. But seeing it in a comic book ostensibly meant for teenagers and men who have not evolved their brain processes past teenagers and are still stuck in the past. That is more of a surprise on any of this stuff. Actual fucking commentary, right? Real world commentary.
Yeah, exactly. And it would never happen now. This is before Marvel had the cultural dominance it has now, because it was pre-MCU. This was part of the, the Bill Jamis and Joe Quesada era where they were trying a bunch of new stuff, which includes, hiring Grant Morrison. So they were crawling their way back up from irrelevance in a lot of ways. But so it's not this is not the equivalent of the Mandalorian just turning to the camera and saying Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself, But it's closer to that than you usually see.
Yeah.
So Baby Yoda saying Bush did 9/11. Which he did, and then Baby Yoda did.
Sorry, just picturing cute ass Baby Yoda who literally breaks my wife's heart every time he's on screen, saying something like Bush did 9/11 as one of the, because he hasn't talked yet in The Mandalorian.
He just turns right to Autumn, turns right to the camera. 9/11 Bush did. Was you guys talking about Baby Yoda? Where I'm I wonder if Yodas naturally talk in that shitty ass way, or they have to be taught.
Me and you were talking about that. Yeah, did someone have to, or at least I heard you say that at some point, but presumably somebody had to teach Baby Yoda to talk broken English, because Baby, or not Baby Yoda, but the actual Yoda, like
regular Yoda.
Yeah, or he just chose to do that himself. This feels like a bit you and I did already, so I'm pretty sure this is me and you.
You know, podcaster brain, man.
I know.
Like I just don't remember anything I recorded. So Xavier shuts down this thing and goes back to reading a book with himself on the cover with a magazine called La Intelligent.
Fucking flex, Xavier, flex.
Like, just going back to reading my, I've been reading about these dirty bombs, Gene, in La Intelligent magazine, the Professor Xavier issue. They land, and this, I like this Xavier flex. He's talking to the authorities, like, hey, this was Muhammad. An hour ago, he was convinced that the territorial injustices perpetrated by one tribe against another justified this aircraft and turning it into an atomic weapon and killing thousands of people. We've had a talk. And, I've explained some of the contradictions in his thinking. And he's just like, it's true. I don't know what I've been doing with my life. He's crying. And there's a little bit of just, the authorities take him in and he's just like, yep, I'm a telepath. I can tell you he'll never use violence again. Also, I told him you will not hurt him. And this is like a threat. I can assure them that he will not be brutalized in your custody.
Doesn't this make you think that Xavier has way better things to be doing than like running a school for idiot mutants? Like if he could be convincing terrorists not to be terrorists, maybe we should focus on that and let Jean and Emma run the school for a little while. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's a weird flex that like he has the ability to do this and chooses not to. And I know that's like Batman not spending his money for universal health care as opposed to dressing up like a bat or whatever. Like this is pretty standard superhero bullshit. But like, boy, when you actually see it happen on the page, like, wow, you could be a lot better at this.
What a lucky group of passengers on this plane that they happen to have Xavier doing his jet set. Just still kind of going on his international tour he's been going on for a while. And just happen to have Xavier on the plane.
I don't know if you know this or not, but right after 9/11, the Department of Homeland Security dictated that there had to be at least one Xavier on every plane.
Oh, sure.
But you can't. But he just dresses up as just very casually, so you
as an air marshal.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the air marshal in Bridesmaids.
Sure.
You got every plane gets an air Xavier.
It's really just multiple man.
Yeah, just with a bald cap and a grin.
Xavier never gave multiple man back his body or his consciousness from that one issue. He just kept it.
Yeah, just go to sleep. You've earned a rest forever. So as this is happening, someone is going to take a shot at Xavier, a sniper, and out comes some X-Force leftovers.
Yeah,
to be the X Corporation from here.
So I like this shot. Mm-hmm. We see the bullet going towards Xavier. It's not what doesn't look like a normal bullet. It looks like a weird space bullet. But Jean Grey does her like Phoenix thing, and like I just really love the image of like the Phoenix fire that comes out of her, like grabbing it. Yeah, like it looks really cool. Yeah, I think also like Jean Grey wearing like a t-shirt of her old Phoenix uniform underneath the black leather jacket, like tucked into some black leather pants, I think is kind of a cool fucking thing.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's also like the kind of like X-Men shirt you could buy at Target. It's a cool like fashion thing.
Yeah.
This very like a consumer, kind of thing. Like people would have this shirt because they loved her. They love the Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
So really cool shot. We cut over to everyone kind of figuring out what happened. Thunderbird or Warpath rather, knocks Xavier down. He says his name is James Proudstar. Xavier's like, I thought you were dead. He's like, that was someone else, sir. He's referring to his brother who died. Xavier sent him on a mission in Giant Size X-Men #1, who was Thunderbird. This is Warpath, his younger brother, who was a big part of like Cable's X-Force, which is a comic I read a lot of, along with Feral and Thorn, the two wolf ladies he's hanging out with. So, So Jean Grey is looking at the bullet here. Says it's not from this planet. And then the X-Force leftovers, Warpath, Feral, and Thorn all jump towards the tower where the sniper is. Like boing. Weird panel.
It's an extremely weird panel. Like the three of them, like all jumping up at that speed is very funny.
Spring.
Yeah.
Sprung? And they get up there and find the they find the sniper. What I was just thinking about X Corporation Mumbai has kind of a monolithic power set. When you have two cat ladies and then a big guy who's good at fighting.
Yeah.
you know?
That's going to come up in a real interesting way later, in a way that I like. Where they're like, we don't know how to use Cerebro because we don't have any fucking telepaths, Jean Grey.
Yeah. Like, this is this 1/3 of the 90s X-Force you gave me, so I don't know what we're supposed to fucking do with this.
Yeah. And surprise, this is Lilandra, who thinks that Xavier is still Cassandra Nova and is responsible for destroying her entire empire. And James Proudstar brings her over, and like he does a quick little scan of her and finds out that her mind is extremely still sick. And like she out of the car comes like some Iraqi clones and are like, "Hey, you need to come with me. We gotta go do some stuff. Like get in this space car. We gotta go."
They look exactly like C. Everett Koop, the old Surgeon General. It's real weird. So 3 C. Everett Koops get out of a car.
That's a weird pull.
Like,
was he on was there a portrait of him at your school or what? Why do you
I just remember. Well, I mean, I remember there was a portrait, but I remember learning about him. As a kid.
You say that like it's obvious you've remembered everything you've ever learned about. Like you really remember what C. Everett Koop looks like?
I don't know why. Well, it's because he's got this weird look. He pulls the Lincoln. Not a lot of people do the shitty beard. You know.
I don't even.
But C. Everett Koop is one of the few people who did it, not successfully. But the beard without the mustache is a real unique look. I think.
Man, that dude's dead.
C. Everett Koop.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace. That was me kissing my fingers and putting them to the sky. I don't actually care how you rest. So
wow, I'm gonna call Ms. Coop up and tell her you said that. Jesus Christ!
Well, there's only one way to console a widow, dude. Like,
do you know him because he showed up on The Simpsons? Is that what happened?
No, I saw him referenced before that. I remember seeing his picture in school. I had a really weird social studies teacher I've talked about before, named Mr. Steely, who was obsessed with torture. Who like is obsessed with like guillotines and torture and shit. And I told a story about making coleslaw in the back of the room where it was like just a bunch of like coleslaw in a terrarium that we were mashing with a 2x4, and kids put like pencil shavings and gum and stuff in there. He was real sad. So he was real weird. And he used to tell us, we talked about a lot of local civics stuff. So that's how I learned like about Colin Powell. I learned about a lot of weird political people that you wouldn't necessarily know who they are in 9th grade. Because of weird Mr. Steely.
Interesting.
So,
yeah.
No.
Apparently, he stood up and called Lisa a witch at some point in the Simpsons universe. So lots of C. Everett Koop facts here today.
You weren't expecting it on this episode of Days of Future Cast, but you're getting it.
Here we go.
So the Xavier's kind of explaining who she is. It's like, oh no, she's my wife. She's my consort. Jean will explain. I have to go with all the C. Everett Koops.
Yes. We go back to the X Corp where Sunspot has arrived. And they are all looking at a very passed out Logan. Jean Grey says like, yeah, that's fine. He normally does that. His healing power really takes it out of him. But where is the mutant that he was supposed to rescue? And that's when Farrell, who I thought was Rain this entire time, because I can't tell the difference. Starts dusting off her Cerebro and basically saying like, yeah, we don't really have a telepath. Like you need to like help us out with this thing.
Yeah. This is again just in Grant Morrison reading a wiki and playing with toys. This is incredibly off characterization for Sunfire. Like Sunfire is extremely arrogant. Sunfire was like in Giant Size X-Men, joined and then told Xavier to go fuck himself like 30 seconds later and flip the table and like flew away flipping him off. Like he's an asshole.
Oh yeah.
And here, he's like this weird, he's really reverent to Wolverine. And it's like, you hate that you met this dude and you hated him.
Yeah.
You're as old as this guy. Like, or Wolverine's like 100 years old, but you're as old as Cyclops. Like you're not a kid, but they draw him as like a kind of a teen.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, Wolverine would be a samurai. That's honorable. It's like Morrison only knew that Sunfire was from Japan. And just kind of like, went with that.
He had 3 facts.
Yeah.
2 of them
really
were wrong.
Obnoxious. It's like the people who wrote the Coming Out of Their Shells tour and just knew that the Ninja Turtles like skateboarding and pizza.
Yep. That's all you really need to know.
So this is where, Jean Grey's going to teach them how to use the thing. He's like, it's not difficult. Just put on the Cerebro and think into it. It'll find the mutants for you. I might be able to kickstart it for you and find this mutant. She puts on the helmet. The rest of the people are looking in physical space.
Mm-hmm.
James Proudstar, Warpath is using his super senses. This place is scanning free of all intruders, he says very robotically.
That's a good, like, I've talked to you before about that show, The Gifted, which got canceled.
Yeah.
And like the representation of this dude on that show is very much like this kind of dialogue. Like he would just like look around and be like, someone's coming. Like, okay, cool.
Pretty cool.
I have to go hit somebody. All right. See you later.
Yeah. They notice all the dust that's in the room is coming off of Wolverine. Yeah. This is where Sunfire's like, that's Wolverine. Are you insane? He's a samurai. And like, maybe there's like new young Sunfire that I don't know about, but if this is supposed to be my Sunfire, this is off.
Yeah.
And Jean Grey figures it out. Like, actually, no, the missing mutant is with us all the time. Warpath's like, no way, my senses are working overtime. And Jean Grey's like, no, she's not really biological now. Hello, Soraya. It's me, Jean. You're safe. Become a human again. I know you're hungry. And all the dust swirls around and turns into the character Dust, who says to Rob. And Wolverine wakes up at this point and says, that means dust is all she says. Now everybody shut up. I'm still trying to sleep.
The panels of where she's actually becoming human from dust again, I like that they form like a skeleton under there.
Yeah.
Like, as opposed to just like clicking into existence. Like having to rebuild your body, I think is really fascinating.
It's really cool. It reminds me of the really great part in the Zack Snyder Watchmen with Dr. Manhattan, where he has to like reconstitute himself.
Yeah.
That visually looks really cool in that, like, as much as that's a really flawed adaptation.
The just to bring that back, the Chernobyl podcast that they did along with Chernobyl did a couple issues of a couple episodes of the on the new Watchmen series, the HBO the sequel, I guess, and yeah, super interesting stuff. So
yeah.
What is Sunfire doing with his hand in the third panel at the top? What's he?
Take a look. Well, that's he's trying to figure out if he should grab Farrell's tail or not.
Just to give it a little pull.
Give it a little tug, like it looks very tuggable.
Like it's going to be very funny if I do it, but she also might scar my face for life. Like which is it going to be?
Like Farrell and Thorne are definitely like these twin cat girls are somebody's like masturbation romp, 100%, and that could be why Sunfire is acting so strange. He's full of hornicules. You know?
Someone tweeted or retweeted something onto my timeline yesterday. There's a DeviantArt account that photoshops lady wrestlers so that one lady wrestler is extremely bigger than the other lady wrestler. And cool. There was only one image and I did not go digging for more, but like the first thing in my head was like, this is someone's really specific fetish. Like this is crazy.
Yeah. Like, and I say that as somebody who like, an Amazon, like tall, tough looking woman is good to me, but they don't need to be supernaturally tall, There's very little magic in my masturbation fantasies. Like, there's not a whole lot of like things breaking the laws of physics.
Just a whole lot of dick.
Yeah, just regular dick physics.
Yeah, just normal dick physics. Not even like spectacularly big dicks. Just average normal dicks with chicks that I like. Yeah.
Some of them are attached to me. Some of them.
If you could have a dick anywhere else on your body besides where it is now, where would you put it?
And
just no question. Okay, cool.
No, I don't know. I just thought it'd be funny to answer quickly. I mean, probably somewhere easy to conceal, like maybe like aligned with my spine.
A back dick. Interesting.
Yeah. Like because then I don't know. It wouldn't be that useful, but I would be able to wear clothes. So like,
here comes Gary, old Dick Bulge Gary coming down the road.
I just feel like if I did have one hanging out of my forearm or whatever, like I'd have to wear some special clothes to cover it up. But people wouldn't want to like. I'd try to hand somebody a sandwich, and they'd be like, It would make Duckfest extremely awkward if you had a dick
like just anywhere else on your body. It would be very strange, especially if nobody knew about it at first. I'm like, oh, did you see the?
Like it fell out.
Did you see? People are
dick? Like doing conspiracy. Oh no, he's wearing pants. No, not that one. Like it become this like conspiracy theory thing, and then it'd be like, oh, they faked Duckfest. Like Stanley Kubrick came back from the grave to fake Duckfest. Like Photoshop a bunch of dicks onto people. I hope that I don't grow a second one. I am pretty good with just the one. I think one is a good number for me.
Yeah.
Personally, not telling anybody else how to live. I know there are people out there with the two dicks and stuff. I read a Reddit Ask Me Anything thing of a dude with two dicks is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that dude sounded miserable.
Oh yeah, like it'd be weird.
Yeah,
gotta say it'd be weird. Got to be a minor Reddit celebrity for a moment, but at what cost?
Did you ever listen to A Life Well Wasted?
Yeah.
That one interview he did with the guy with the enormous penis, and just like how fucking miserable that guy sounded about his enormous penis. Like, people are terrified to touch it. Like, everyone that does want to touch it is like treating me like I'm a fetish and not like an actual person. Like, it just sounds like the worst fucking thing in the world. It's
a weird thing. So like that podcast, I think people talked about it a lot when it came out, and people have forgotten about it because there's only like 8 episodes and it went away. Robert Ashley's podcast. I really loved that in the beginning. That dick episode was my turning point where I thought, if this podcast continues, I won't like it anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this has nothing to do with games. This is just this weird, like, human interest story that you're like, I was interested in that dude's miserable life. I've talked to people who have ginormous dicks before, and generally they're like, yeah, it's a logistical nightmare. Like, they don't like it. And it was kind of like an interesting thing, but I was like, why do I care about Robert Ashley? Like, talking about this, what specific insight are you doing other than just interviewing a dude with a gigantic wang?
Yeah,
and
making a weird song out of the interviews at some point.
yeah, it wasn't that interesting. Like, the early episodes of that, I think, are really good.
Yeah,
where it's a little bit more, and I love the title of it. I think the title's perfect. I think it's pretty cool. And then he kind of lost it, and then he stopped doing it, and now he's just a guy on Twitter, as far as I know.
Yeah,
so.
He's mentioned a couple of times that he has episodes of that in the hopper that could come out at any point. So
that's interesting, because it's been like a decade.
It's been a really fucking long time. Yeah,
it's been literally like 10 years. Like,
Jesus. Yeah.
So yeah.
So
we cut over.
We have established Dust. We cut over to Xavier, who's in the back of the space car with Rocky 6, who is leading him to a Shi'ar space shuttle and explaining that the Shi'ar Empire is disconnecting themselves from any mutants whatsoever.
Yep.
They're dropping all further contact and just basically saying, like, screw you guys. You literally destroyed our entire existence, and we don't want to hang out with you anymore.
Yep. And Xavier's having a hard time with this. Like, hey, Cassandra Nova can't do any more harm. I know what she did, but your mind will heal. The Empire will come back. And she's like, again, this arc being good at talking about Xavier's hubris, like, ruin always comes to us through you. Like, you are the worst thing that has happened to the Shi'ar, which is pretty inarguable between this and the Phoenix.
Yes.
She's like, I'm broken. He's trying to console her. Like, you're not broken. You've dissolved. You can change into a new form. And Araki comes in and is like, no, like, this is over. This is an emergency. Like, you don't actually understand. The mutant species is toxic. You have these toxic levels of aggression. Your marriage is annulled. Like, this is over.
Yep.
You have caused a catastrophic. Your presence has just, like, really fucked us up.
And he uses the word, like, we're going to remove all Shi'ar citizens from planet Earth during the disinfection period. And when Xavier follows up and says, like, what does that mean? He says, oh, yes, the Phoenix is hatched and she is merciless. And this is our last page where, like, out of nowhere, Xavier has a team of mutants with him.
I was trying to figure out what this was. Who those people were. Doesn't
it look like X Factor? Like, it kind of gave me, like, some, like the guy in the back for some reason gave me some, like, strongman vibes or whatever. Like, it just looks...
Sure.
But, like, all of a sudden, Gladiator is here, too. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Gladiator and scary plasma face.
Yes.
To his left. And just basically this, like, foreshadowing about the Phoenix and divorcing Lilandra and Xavier.
Yeah.
Which is a worthwhile thing. That's interesting.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's interesting that they came back. We're like, we're going to give you all of your people back, because the last time we saw the Shi'ar, like, X-Men were flying people up there to help with the rebuilding effort.
Yeah, that's who these people are. That's who these X-Men are behind him.
Duh. Okay, well, we're fucking idiots then. That's exactly who these people are. Shit, I didn't even...
Well, it's not blocked very well. Like, they said we're giving them back, but they don't show, like, people unloading from a plane or anything. They're just all of a sudden behind Xavier.
They should have just shown Archangel there, and I would have probably, like, figured that shit out almost immediately. Or Beak or Angel or something. Instead, it's just, like, weird silhouettes of mutants you've never heard of before. So
yeah, it's a striking image, but, like, it kind of oversells the tragedy a little bit, maybe.
Yeah.
Lilandra's crying. She's not into this.
I mean, she's into killing.
Now. yeah. She's not doing good. And Xavier is now divorced.
Yes.
So he gets to go sleep in a race car. Yeah, and that's the issue.
That's it. So I like this one better than the other filler issue that we covered, the Magneto one.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just like, even though some of the representations of the characters are kind of off model and a little weird, like the action is good, it's understandable, like you can kind of tell what's going on at all times, and it fills in some gaps and like you said, just basically, cuts out some loose ends for us, ties them up, so we're all neat in a bow and ready for what is arguably the best run of the series, which is going to be what we cover on the next episode.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So decent. Not a whole lot of consequence to this. Dust does not show up very much in this. The stuff with Lalandra is not really a big part of this. Like, this was, I think, Grant Morrison trying to give gifts, trying to set new status quo stuff, but it doesn't really hold. We're going to immediately go back into Shi'ar shit. Only a couple of years after this ends with Ed Brubaker's stuff with Deadly Genesis and Vulcan. And then spend a lot of time dealing with Shi'ar politics and shit, and it's as boring as it sounds.
Ooh boy, I think I tried to read Deadly Genesis at one time, at some point or the other. So
Deadly Genesis itself is actually kind of okay. That's the one that takes place, it's on Earth, but it leads to Vulcan and all this Third Summer's Brother, like space opera, like Game of Thrones in space with the Shi'ar stuff. That is not very good.
Does not sound good, my friend. Does not sound good.
Not good. Deadly Genesis is cool. I would like to do that at some point for the show if the show runs long enough. It's interesting. It's like a really interesting miniseries.
That's since you brought that up, we've had a bunch of people ask us what we're going to be doing next on the podcast, and I would just want to let you know that as soon as we know, we will tell you. We just haven't made up our minds yet, and we've got so many issues to cover at this that I'm not even really particularly thinking about it. Like, I've been kind of browsing around on Marvel Unlimited and like randomly picking out stuff and just reading some X-Men because I'm kind of into an X-Men zone right now. But we haven't figured out anything, and as soon as we do, we will absolutely tell y'all.
Yeah, we will probably start talking about that when this run starts wrapping up. The obvious answer would obviously be like Astonishing, but I don't know if we want to not do that immediately and maybe make some time, maybe do something from a different era.
Yeah,
maybe a good time to do something old. We'll figure it out.
We will.
For now, thank you for listening. If you would like a bunch of bonus episodes, all the episodes at once, kind of early, a bunch of other benefits, go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. And if you can't do that, we understand money is different for everyone. Please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating or review. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And if you can't do that because Apple has a weird ecosystem that only allows you to use iTunes to do that, tell a friend. Recommend the podcast to your buds. And don't warn them about all of the weird sex stuff that we talk about. Just let them encounter that naturally. So
no, just freestanding natural dicks in the wild.
Exactly right.
So not to pat my own back at all, but somebody reminded me of a funny thing that I said on Out of Suffering, which is we make dick jokes, we also make dick points. So just this is a good podcast for people making points about dicks as well.
I really thought you were gonna say not to pat myself on the dick on my back, but
but it feels good. Fuck, God,
I didn't think trying to jerk off with a dick on your back would be way more difficult.
A lot of like laying on your back on like a slip and slide.
Okay,
sure. And then kind of just kind of like scooting,
just greasing up like an air mattress and seeing what happens.
Yeah, like a very specific air mattress. That'd be such a pain to put away. Like, as somebody who can't even keep up with a fleshlight, like I would find the maintenance on that masturbation extremely tough.
I would have to have a house for it. Like, I'd build a shed, and that's where I would just do all of my business, and nobody would ever be able to go in there besides me. So it wouldn't matter what it looked like.
Shack. Yeah, not great.
Yeah, let's not talk about this ever again with each other. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Build a shed to go jerk off. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the jerk off shed.